Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So this week we have this thing to tackle. So it's one of them jobs that could either be very simple to sort out or quite complicated. So I'll just quickly run you through what it is, what's wrong with it and what I'm thinking about how I'm going to sort it out. So this, at the moment, it's upside down, but it goes the other way up. And it's off the bottom of a Joskin slurry tanker. And it is the main axle pivot. So on here, there's like a pivot that goes on here, and then a big leaf spring that goes from one axle to the other axle, and that's what the axles pivot on, and then the leaf spring is what gives you suspension. I did actually find a drawing of one on the internet. I'll put that in if I can find it again, of how it fits on the tanker and the leaf spring on it. But yeah, as you can see, this is quite badly worn where the bush goes. A big plastic bush that goes on there like that. And yeah, she's quite worn on both sides. So yeah, we need to sort that out. So I've sort of got three ideas of how to do it. So plan A is to gouge this weld away there, and then knock this shaft out and put a new shaft in. That's the simplest way, but then it might not be simple because the way it's been made, there's obviously these bits and then this bit of tube that's welded in there, and then I think they must have turned a bit of this tube down to thread through here, and it looks like they've welded round there. So I think the only weld that holds the shaft in is this one and that one. But the chances are this shaft will be rusty and rusted into this here, and same on that side. And then if it's all been welded up in one go, chances are the weld will have pulled it one way or the other, so it'll have nipped up on that shaft, which will make it difficult to knock out. But yeah, that's plan A. Plan B, I could either, I was thinking I could maybe put it on my big milling machine, turn the head sideways, mill round it with a boring head, or machine it down with a boring head, build it back up with weld, then machine it back down again. But that's going to be a lot of setup and a lot of time, changing it from one side to the other and welding it round and machining it back down again. Or plan C would be to cut it off across there, put that in the lathe, machine it down, weld it round, machine it back down again in the lathe. But then the trouble is my lathe is not big enough to fit it all in, so I'd have to borrow someone's lathe, and then there's a lot of work re-welding it back on again. But yeah, that's my thinking. So we're going to go with plan A first. We're going to commit fairly well to plan A. So I'll get the arcade gouger set up and we'll gouge these welds round and then go from there. Right, I've got gouged all the way around there then, so I can see a separation line, see that in there, all the way around on both sides, so I think I've got enough gouged out. Went a bit too deep on that bit, but it'll grind flush again once I've got it out. I still find carbonate gouging pretty hard, but yeah, we've done as much gouging as we need to do on that bit. So yeah, now the fun begins, trying to knock that out. So I'll probably stand it on its end maybe, and then I can hit it down over rather than trying to hit it sideways, and then I can set it up so it's solid onto the concrete rather than just on the tines. I want as much energy going into the bar as possible. So I have that big bit of, well, it's an old bit of ram cylinder that'll go over there that I could use. I just have to weld a bit of plate on the end to sit it upright and use that to support this while I hit it on that end. What I'm thinking I might do actually is to have that big 50-ton bottle jack. If I can weld something on here to come out and make like a bridge and put the bottle jack in and then see if it'll push out with a 50-ton bottle jack. Easier than me trying to swing a 14-pound sledgehammer, so I'm not really built for swinging sledgehammers. Yeah, so I'll get that set up on its end and then work out how we're going to use that. Right, I've decided I am going to give it a few tickles with the hammer first. See if it moves before I go to the extent of making something for the jack. I can't see it moving myself, but worth a try. Yeah, so it's not even moved a little bit. So I'm not going to chew myself to bits trying to swing the hammer. I'll just make something for the jack to push against. Right, so I've got the bottle jack sat on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plasma out a ring that fits over that I can weld onto here. And then from that, I can put some big solid uprights, I'm not sure what out of yet, up over there, over the top of the jack, and weld it on at the other side. And then I've got something to jack against then. So I found this offcut of 20mm plate, so should be able to get a circle out of that just. And then this is 25mm plate. I'll maybe cut some strips out of them offcut bits to use for the uprights. Now I've got that cut out. I just need to nick through there. My plate wasn't quite big enough. Maybe it would have been if I'd have spent a bit more time finding where the centre should be. But where my lead in is just left a bit there, so I'll just nip through that and then we'll grind that bit off, and then that will do for that bit. Right, so that's that bit fit over there. So then I'll weld that on under there somewhere in a few places. And I've got this bit, which is an offcut of 25mm that I can use. I'll chop that down to 520mm, and then one bit will weld on here. It's not long enough to do both bits, but the bit that I chop off that's left over will be the bridge piece across the top. So then I just need to cut another one of these out. It's 25mm thick, 60mm wide, 520mm long, which I can get out of that bit of offcut there. Right, we've got that set up. I was going to flame cut that out, but we're going to use the plasma instead. The plasma is good for cutting 25mm. The software in this is only set up for a PowerMax 85, and that's 105 when it's flat out. So I don't know what would happen if I turn that to 105 amp when this is only maxed out. Well, this is only set for 85 amp. So I'm not quite sure. The plasma will do it, but this is sort of not set up for having the plasma running flat out, because that's sort of the settings for a hypertherm. A hypertherm don't make 105 amp plasma. Right, that's that cut out. It's actually cut it out very well. So that's just out of interest, that's a plasma cut edge. And then that is a flame cut edge. So there's not much in it. I would actually be cutting faster with a flame. I'd be cutting at 460mm a minute. And with the plasma, I was only cutting at 350mm a minute. But that was only at 85 amps. So yeah, we'll get this other bit cut down the same length as that now. So we've got all that welded on now. That's all welded together on the top, and then welded underneath. Whether that'll be enough weld or not, I'm not sure. Don't know how much pressure it'll take, but we'll give that a bit of a go and see what happens. Right, so I've had a fair bit of pressure on there and it's not moved yet. All it's doing is bending that bit at the top. I've wrapped them straps around it just as a bit of a safety in case it flies off or anything. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that jack back out again, and I'll lift it up, and I'm going to measure the overall length of that shaft and how much is sticking out either side, and then I'm going to fully commit and I'm just going to chop it off in the middle there. So then I only need half the force then, because I'm only pushing half of it out. I'm only pushing one out at a time. So yeah, chop it off and then we'll push that one out, turn it over, weld it on the other side, and then push that one out. It would have been nice to get the whole thing out in one lump, but I think it's going to take too much force. Could start warming them up, but I'll chop that middle out, and then if I need to, then I'll warm them up individually. Right, we're going to commit then, we're going to chop that out with a gas torch. No turning back after that. Right, I've run out of oxygen now, but I managed to butcher my way through there, and I'm halfway through there, and I ran out of oxygen. Now, I'm not sure whether it's my lack of skills or whether I've got the wrong nozzle, but I was really struggling to get cut through there. It was just not blasting far enough through before it was bubbling back out again, so I was starting to have to cut a bit one way and a bit the other. But, say, I've never had to cut 100mm solid bar with a gas before, so it's probably my skills that are lacking, I think. Go back to the trusty grinder, cut through the last bit with that. Right, finally got that chopped out. What a mess. But yeah, I'll put the jack back in there again, see what happens. So it's just bending that and it's broke them welds off now, so don't think it maybe moved a tiny a bit. When you look at the separation line, looks slightly different. But yeah, I'll have to make a bigger one of them, and then I might put a bit like that, weld it on that way, and then another bit like that, weld it on the edge. And I think I have to get some more oxygen. I'll warm this bit up. Right, there we are. We've beefed that up quite a bit now, so yeah, we'll give that another go and see what happens. Probably break off underneath there now. I'll put another 2 runs of weld around them. They've got about 3 welds, one side and the other side. And that's welded across there, so that should be a lot stronger. So we'll see what happens now. You look under there now, you can see it's starting to move. You can see it's pushed it through a bit. So we'll keep going like that. Right, it's moved quite a bit now, so we're getting there. I think what I'm going to do now, which maybe would have made more sense to do to start with, but put the bottle jack in there and jack the pin out that way, which, yeah, I suppose I was trying to get the whole thing out as one. That's why I made that to go on there. But if maybe if I thought a bit more, I could have just put the bottle jack in there to start with, chop through it and put the bottle jack in. But because of where the weld was, like some of that is a bit proud still, so I'm going to grind that round now, make sure it's there's not any proud bits. Yeah, and then I think we'll jack it back out that way. And I haven't got all that lot. I know it's worn, but that bit's not worn, to try and press through here. Plus it'd probably be too long to fit out anyway. So yeah, I'll do that. In fact, I can't do that now because the bottle jack, even when it's fully in, is too big to fit in there now that that's pushed through. So I'll just have to keep going as I am. Right, we're very nearly out, but we've joined up with that one again now, so I'll chop a bit more off there. I'll just chew through it with a grinder, and then should press the last bit out. I think there's only sort of that much left in. It's pressing out nice and easy now. It's got onto that bit. It's like rusted itself in. You can see the layers of rust there. That's why it's tight. So no doubt I'll get a comment saying, why don't you use a thermal lance, or you need to get a thermal lance. I do have a thermal lance, but for this job there's other options. Like, that would be my last resort to use a thermal lance. Like, if the jack hadn't shifted it after I'd put that on, I could have warmed all that lot up and then tried, and then if that hadn't worked, then that'd be the time to get the thermal lance out and blast through the middle of the pin. If you don't know what a thermal lance is, it's like a long steel rod that blasts oxygen through the middle of it, and then the rod burns away, and then whatever you touch it against, it melts. So you'd use it to melt a hole all the way through the pin, and then you'd blast away as much, sort of make a decent hole through it, and then you'd quench the pin, cool the pin down, and then the pin would shrink a little bit, and then it makes them easier to knock out. But there'd been a fair bit of time involved thermal lancing through a pin that size, and then I'd have probably still had to use a jack anyway, so I wouldn't really have gained anything on this job using a thermal lance. So yeah, once I got that strong enough anyway, it jacked out not too bad, so yeah, that's why I haven't used a thermal lance. Right, that's that out. So yeah, you can see she was quite well rusted in. That's the bit that was on the outside, and that was a bit that was in. So there's quite a bit of rust and stuff on there. So yeah, surprising how much force rust takes to break, or how much force it has holding things in. So I think for that one, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to take this off and put this on the other side, and then I'm jacking against that rather than putting the jack in there, because I don't want to open this out and risk, you know, twisting this out of shape or whatever. So at least with that, I'm sort of only jacking against, I'm only pulling on that rather than spreading the whole thing apart. So yeah, I'll maybe grind. Oh no, I don't need to do actually. Yeah, I'll turn it over, chop that off, weld it on the other side, and do exactly the same thing again. Just noticed that funny little sticker, grease gun. Obviously no one's taken any notice of it, otherwise we wouldn't be having this job. Right, that's that set up, ready for another go then. So hopefully this side won't be any more difficult than the other side. Quick bit of dinner, that's not bad for a Tuesday dinner time. Better than sandwiches. So this side's not moving yet, but what it is doing is starting to bend this bit of plate underneath. Get my light on it. It's starting to bend that. So I think I'm going to have to warm this one up. I didn't really want to have to warm it up because I didn't want to burn any of the paint off it, but I'm going to have to do, I think. Right, so I've got my pepper pot on. I'll warm it up with this. This thing makes a ridiculous amount of noise, just like converts all my oxygen into noise, and obviously heat as well. But yeah, you definitely need your ear defenders on when using this. So I'm gonna have to warm it up again. I think it's gone tight again. It's just, yeah, it's just starting to distort them plates, which I don't want it to do. I don't want too much heat to get into the pin. And sometimes the pickup, like the metal off the pin, will pick up on the metal of the tube, and then it makes it really difficult to press them out then. So yeah, you don't want too much heat getting into the pin, basically. Right, so that has dropped through now, but it's too long. I'll have to chop it off it again to get it out. But again, in that one you can see all the rust on it that's made it tight. And then you look in there, it's quite rusty. But at least it's out. So yeah, I'll just have to chew through that again with a big grinder, and then we can get that bit out. Turn that back the right way up now, and then drop this bit off. Clean up underside there, I've already done that one. And then, yeah, give the bars a clean out. Notice as well, it's cracked around there where that weld is, so I'll have to gouge that out and re-weld that. I think the other one on the other side is the same. I think that one's maybe cracking as well. So in some of my other videos, you heard me talking about my old Golf when I was getting it through its MOT, needed new springs. One spring snapped and the other snapped, and anyway, got that through its MOT. But you'd have heard me saying that I bought an Amarok to replace it. Yeah, so this is my Amarok that I got. So yeah, this is the first sort of nice vehicle that I've owned, and that's reasonably new, still 6 years old, but it's been away for a week. I've just had it fully rust proofed and cavity wax put in all the cavities of the like seals and the bonnet and tailgate and everywhere. So I just thought I'd show you that. It's not easy to see, but when you look in there now, everything looks brand new again. So they take all the arches out. I put some pictures in of what I've done. They take all the arches out, take the bumper off, wire wheel everything down, all the rust, needle gun it, and then yeah, just rust proof it all. And then when you look underneath, yeah, this all looks brand new again now. So there was a bit of rust starting to show through. They took some pictures when they were doing it, so I'll put them in just in case you're interested, but it's definitely worth getting done, I think. So these are the pictures beforehand. You can see she was quite rusty in some places, like down the chassis seams, and I think they've wire brushed them and needle gunned them, and then I've gone over it with rust converter and red oxide, and then some more underneath. all the bits that were bad, and then they've used Dinatrol, I think it is. They've injected all the chassis and covered all the chassis, and then done all the wheel arches. And that's what it looks like afterwards before they put the wheel arches back in again. So it all looks brand new. They do media blasting, dry ice blasting, but what I got was just sort of the basic service because it's a lot more expensive. And that was Rust Doctor UK up at Darlington that did it, if you're interested. Yeah, real good service. It's not a paid promotion or anything. I didn't get a deal on it before mentioning him. I just thought it was a bit of good content and a bit of useful information for anyone that might want the vehicle rust proofing. I've ordered the round bar. I ordered it yesterday and they said it'd been today, but then I got an email from them this morning saying that their suppliers let them down and it's not coming till Tuesday next week now, so I'm not going to get that finished this week. Yeah, there's nothing else I can do with it now. It'd be interesting to see whether the new bar is going to fit through it. I'm very sceptical that it's not going to fit through because it'll have pulled and twisted when it was welded up, and because they're quite a precise fit through there, I can see it not lining up. Anyway, that's a problem for future me. Yeah, so this just arrived out the blue this morning, and there was a sticker on it, and it said they'd been watching my videos and they'd seen that I was saying about getting a battery grease gun, and yeah, they decided to send me one saying it was something to back British engineering, so that's nice. So thanks very much for that, Ollie. I put the sticker that it came with on the inside of the box, and then I remember who sent me it every time I use it. So yeah, thanks very much, that's great. And then on the end I put the lock and lube system on that another viewer sent me, so it's got a proper battery powered grease gun with a proper decent end on it. So yeah, thanks very much. Right, so I got this in, little Friday afternoon project, working on this. So this actually came in when I was doing the roof, but I had the cherry picker on hire, so I couldn't really afford to have the cherry picker just stood there doing nothing while I was doing this. So I got a few measurements off it, but then he's brought it back in again for me to finish it. So what he wants to do with this, he wants a guard making around the back of it to protect the radiator. Because it gets used by a tree surgeon, he uses it for logs and, well, I'm not sure exactly what he uses it for, but anyway, he didn't want any branches going through the radiator at the back. So I've designed this, spent quite a bit of time taking measurements off it to get everything in the right place. So I've cut that out this afternoon, out of that, and then I've got it pressed and I've just got it roughly clamped on in the right place. So that should nicely protect the back of that. I've got a cut out there for the isolator key, just wants to go up a little bit yet. And then these mesh sort of correspond with where the vents are on the inside. Same on that side. And then weights are to go back on, so there's another plate to go over there for the weights to sit on because they have a lip on them. And then I'm going to use these two bolt holes here and make another little bracket to fasten it on there as well. So that should do that. It looks all right. And then yeah, I'll get on with that again next week, hopefully, when my round bar comes for it. So yeah, that's all for this week. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.